Picture this. It's the peak of the evening, the sun's slowly going down, and as you flick the switch to light up your room, nothing. No lights flicker to life, no hum of the refrigerator, not even the soft churn of the water pump. You rush to the store only to find aisles of barren shelves staring back. This isn't a scene from a dystopian movie. It's the stark reality of economic collapse, a specter looming over several countries in 2024. Today, we dive deep into the precarious situations of 10 countries teetering on the brink of collapse in 2024. We'll uncover the catalysts driving their descent and ponder their potential futures. Are you ready to unravel these complex challenges? Let's embark on this enlightening journey. Starting off with number 10, we have Venezuela. Venezuela, once one of the richest countries in Latin America, is now a shadow of its former self. With a population of nearly 29 million, the country has been grappling with a devastating economic crisis for over a decade. Hyperinflation has rendered the Venezuelan bolivar almost worthless. Imagine needing a wheelbarrow full of cash just to buy a loaf of bread. It's that bad. The root cause? Economic mismanagement, plain and simple. The government has been printing money non-stop to cover fiscal deficits, causing inflation to spiral out of control. But that's not all. Venezuela's economy is heavily dependent on oil exports, which account for about 90% of its total revenue. When oil prices are high, things are manageable, but when they drop, it's a disaster. The country simply can't sustain itself without that income, and with global oil prices being as volatile as they are, Venezuela's future looks bleak. To make matters worse, the humanitarian crisis has reached epic proportions. Shortages of food, medicine, and other basic necessities are common, and the healthcare system is in shambles. If Venezuela doesn't turn things around, and fast, 2024 could be the year this once great nation collapses completely. Number 9. Tunisia. Tunisia, with its 12 million citizens, once stood as a beacon of hope in the Arab world. But now, the cracks are starting to show. The budget deficit is creeping towards 10%, which is like trying to run a marathon with a broken leg, unsustainable and painful. The public sector is a massive drain on resources, taking up the lion's share of the budget, leaving little for anything else. It's like having a big family to feed, but spending most of your income on just one child. Eventually, everyone else starts to starve. Tunisia has been relying on the International Monetary Fund to keep it afloat, but these bailouts come with some pretty harsh conditions. The austerity measures required by the IMF are squeezing the life out of ordinary Tunisians, leading to frequent protests and a growing sense of disillusionment. The country is stuck in a vicious cycle, borrowing more to pay off old debts while the economy struggles to grow. If Tunisia doesn't find a way to cut its deficit and quell the social unrest, 2024 could be the year it all unravels. Number 8. Argentina. Argentina, home to around 46 million people, is no stranger to economic crises, but this time it feels different. The national debt has skyrocketed and inflation is out of control again. It's like déjà vu, but worse. Argentina's history of defaulting on debt payments has made investors wary, and that lack of confidence is crippling the economy. Imagine trying to get a loan with a credit score in the gutter. That's basically Argentina's situation on the global stage. Inflation is eroding the purchasing power of ordinary Argentinians, making it harder for them to afford basic necessities. The government's economic policies, rather than solving the problems, seem to be making them worse as they struggle to manage the fiscal deficit. If Argentina doesn't pull off some kind of economic miracle soon, 2024 could see the country spiraling into yet another deep financial crisis with even graver consequences than before. Number 7. Ghana. Ghana, with a population of nearly 33 million, has long been hailed as a model of stability in West Africa. But beneath the surface, there's trouble brewing. The Ghanaian cedi has been in freefall, depreciating rapidly and making everything more expensive. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a serious problem for a country that relies heavily on imports. When your currency loses value, importing goods becomes more costly, and inflation rears its ugly head. Ghana's public debt is also a ticking time bomb. The country has been borrowing heavily from foreign creditors, and while that's helped in the short term, it's left Ghana highly vulnerable to shifts in the global economy. The economic strain has led to widespread protests as people demand better governance and real economic reforms. If Ghana can't stabilize its currency and reduce its debt, 2024 could be the year it all comes crashing down. Number 6. Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, home to about 22 million people, is facing one of its toughest periods in modern history. Years of financial mismanagement have left the country's foreign exchange reserves nearly depleted, making it difficult to import essential goods like fuel and medicine. It's like trying to run a household without a paycheck. The bills keep coming, but there's no money to pay them. The debt-to-GDP ratio in Sri Lanka is sky high, and the government has been borrowing like there's no tomorrow just to keep the country afloat. Political instability has only made things worse, with leadership changes and infighting preventing any meaningful solutions from being implemented. If Sri Lanka doesn't find a way to stabilize its economy and secure the resources it needs, 2024 could be the year the country faces a full-blown collapse. Number 5. Pakistan. Pakistan, with a population of around 240 million, is teetering on the edge of an economic abyss. Their foreign reserves are so low that they can barely cover short-term imports. Think of it as living paycheck to paycheck on a national scale. But it gets worse. A significant chunk of Pakistan's revenue is going towards servicing its foreign debt, leaving little room for anything else like infrastructure or social services. The political situation is equally unstable, with frequent changes in leadership, making it difficult to implement long-term economic strategies. And let's not forget the natural disasters, floods, earthquakes, you name it, that keep throwing the country into disarray. Pakistan is juggling way too many problems at once, and if they don't find a way to stabilize soon, 2024 could be the year it all comes crashing down. Number 4. Belarus. Belarus, with a population of about 9.5 million, is a country increasingly isolated from the global community. International sanctions have effectively cut Belarus off from key financial systems, making it nearly impossible to engage in global trade or attract foreign investment. Imagine trying to run a business without access to your bank account. That's Belarus on a national level. The economy is running on fumes and political instability isn't helping matters. Belarus's involvement in regional conflicts has further strained its resources, leading to a downward spiral that's hard to reverse. If they don't find a way to navigate through these sanctions and political challenges, 2024 could be the year Belarus hits rock bottom. Number 3. Kenya. Kenya, with a population of around 55 million, is facing a perfect storm of economic challenges. The country's debt-to-GDP ratio is alarmingly high, meaning they owe more than they can realistically pay back. This debt burden is crippling Kenya's ability to invest in much-needed development projects, like infrastructure and education. On top of that, Kenya's agricultural sector, which is a major part of the economy, is being battered by climate-related issues like droughts. When crops fail, not only does it hurt farmers, but it also drives up food prices, leading to inflation. Despite ambitious goals for growth, progress has been slow, and the people are getting restless. If Kenya can't find a way to manage its debt and address these environmental challenges, 2024 could be a year of significant setbacks. Number 2. Ethiopia. Ethiopia, with its massive population of about 126 million, is a country rich in history but troubled by its present. The ongoing civil conflict has devastated communities and displaced millions, leading to a severe humanitarian crisis. The economy is struggling to recover, largely due to its isolation from international aid and economic systems. Imagine trying to rebuild after a storm with no tools, no help, and no hope. That's Ethiopia right now. Ethiopia's reliance on foreign aid and debt relief programs shows just how vulnerable the country is. These are stopgap measures at best, and with the conflict showing no signs of ending, the outlook for 2024 is grim. If Ethiopia doesn't find a way to end the fighting and attract the international support it needs, this could be the year everything unravels. Number 1. Ecuador. Finally, we have Ecuador, with a population of around 18 million, a country with stunning landscapes. But lately, it's been more of a political roller coaster than a peaceful retreat. You've got protests left, right, and center. Seems like every other week there's a new reason to hit the streets. Teetering on the edge of political and economic instability, political upheaval is almost a daily occurrence, with protests and government changes disrupting any semblance of stability. The economy is heavily reliant on oil revenues, which, as we've seen, can be a double-edged sword. When oil prices drop, so does Ecuador's ability to fund its budget and maintain public services. But it's not just about oil. Ecuador is also grappling with rising crime, much of it related to drug trafficking. The security situation is deteriorating, and that's making life even harder for ordinary Ecuadorians. If these issues aren't addressed soon, 2024 could be the year Ecuador finally slips over the edge.